there's a lot of strange things going on in Kenner and Shreveport. I'm not from Louisiana, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I am, because I'm not. But you go on any message board, Reddit, Tumblr, MySpace, a place for friends, Craigslist. You ever go on Craigslist? Go in the romance sections or the news section, whatever. I think there's some kind of AI going on. Because I'm going to look the numbers up right here. I'm going to tell you it doesn't make any sense. So Nolens has got 364,000 people. Baton Rouge, 219. Then Shreveport, 177. So it's in that top 5 biggest cities in Louisiana. Something's going on in Shreveport. We've been seeing it over and over again. The Republican Party there, from what I understand, is petrified because, I mean, there are cities that are known to be liberal hotbeds, like Austin, Texas, or, Berkeley, California. You know what I mean? Shreveport, Louisiana has never been considered a hotbed of liberalism. You don't say, hey, I want to go take my Washington, Portland liberalism to Shreveport, Louisiana. You'd have to be some kind of an idiot to say that. So the idea that Kamala Harris is swelling, in other words, that her support is just multiplying, in a manner that has not been seen before, is absurd. So I would ask folks, if they're coming in, or if they know somebody, if they watch it afterwards. If you're coming in, leave a comment now. If you watch this afterwards, leave a comment in the description down there after the video. But I mean, I'm gonna do a little bit of research just because I'm interested, and while I do this, I'm gonna, I plan to be on here a little bit. I got nowhere to go. I'm gonna look up Shreveport, Louisiana, and see why this would be a place where Kamala Harris would be doing well. I mean, is it a college town? I mean, is it, I don't get it. It's a city, this is Wikipedia here. It is the 3rd most populous city in Louisiana. The bulk of Shreveport is in Cato Parish. I mean, I don't see anything that would make me think it's a liberal city. Let's see their mayor. Where is their mayor from? Like, do they give you the mayor here? Okay, but the mayor's got red, so that means that they don't have an active page. That stinks. See, that would be good because, well, let's copy and paste his name. Well, see, his name is Tom Arseneau. All right, well, let's see here. Tom, it's got to have something, right? Tom let's just spell that Arseneau. Here we go. Mayor of Shreveport. Now, does it say what party he is? Republican. That's what I'm talking about. So they've got a mayor. He's a Republican. So that doesn't make any sense. Let's go back to Shreveport and see if, because again, it's got to make some kind of sense. If it doesn't make sense, it's not real. I'm sorry. Don't call me a conspiracy theorist. If it doesn't make sense, unless it's a matter of faith, because don't get me started on sense and faith. It's apples and oranges. But unless it's a matter of faith, if it doesn't make sense, it's wrong. So, all right, so Shreveport, 3rd largest city of Louisiana, okay. Its mayor is a Republican. I'll be honest with you, I don't know the last time Louisiana was blue. I don't think Clinton flipped it. He would have been the closest thing, governor of Arkansas, okay. I have faith. I absolutely do have faith, Dr. Dopium, absolutely. But I don't know the last time that Louisiana wasn't red. I'm pretty sure they were red for Reagan, Bush Sr., McCain, Romney, Ford, Nixon. I mean, maybe Nixon, I don't know, because at the time the South was going through some stuff, but I don't think Louisiana has ever not been red in the last half century. So the idea that Kamala Harris could somehow flip Louisiana because of whatever's going on in Shreveport and Kenner doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Also, I get Shreveport, right? But Kenner, I mean, I don't even think Kenner's in the top 10. I think Kenner is like a very small city. It doesn't make sense to me. Why is she doing so? We haven't looked at Kenner, Louisiana yet. We're just looking at, and again, I'm not on here for a partisan purpose. I'm not here to say, oh, I like him more, I like her more. I'm just here to say that I'm seeing a lot of things that aren't making a lot of sense. And I'm just asking why. I'm not doing anything weird. I'm going on Wikipedia. I'm using Google. I'm finding out, what is the political affiliation of the mayor? Is there possibly a large liberal arts university? That's the next thing I'm going to look at because, look, I mean, those are hotbeds of liberalism. A lot of those professors are closet Marxists. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, socialism and communism, they sound great on paper, but you try to put those things into reality, it's an abject failure. You name me one communist country that's been a success, and I'll shut this, I'll go to bed. I won't say another word. But the reality of the matter is, if it doesn't make sense, I'll tell you, Alex Jones, for example, I like Alex Jones a lot. And it's not because of all the political stuff right now. You probably didn't know this, but around 2000, Alex Jones went to Waco, Texas, to the survivors of the Branch Davidian massacre that took place over there in 1993, to talk about that some other time. And he built them a church. He raised all the money and he built them just an amazing church. These people had seen 75 plus of their men, women, and children burned down in a very questionable raid by the FBI, then led by Janet Reno, and built them a church that was just absolutely beautiful. To this day, they have all their events there. So that's how I know Alex Jones. But in addition to that, he questions. Joe Rogan, he questions. Even crazy Jesse Ventura, they all question. I don't care what their politics are. I just care that they question. Most people don't question anything, and that's scary. So where would it be under? Well, like I want to find if they have any schools over there. Arts and cultures, would that be it? I don't see anything here. I'm not saying that I don't see anything of value. I'm just saying what I'm looking for is a massive liberal arts university. Then I could see where maybe, and it's not because it says liberal, and it's because most of the people that have those vague liberal arts majors are closet Marxists. They don't know what to do. They're just there to, you know what I mean? They're losers. But the point is, you're not going to find, a strong communist movement in a business school. Do you know what I mean? Or in a med school or in a law school. Because all those people want to be rich. The last thing they want to hear about is giving you half of everything they own when you haven't done jack to deserve it. You're not going to find the liberals there. You're going to find them in these wishy-washy colleges, where they give you degrees in basket weaving. Okay, because a lot of them are very stupid. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not trying to put my politics out there, but you're dealing with a considerably lower IQ level. But God bless them. We're all going to heaven if we're good people. So I don't see education. Okay, so they got C.E. Bird High School. All right. I mean, I don't know. Colleges. Let's see. What do they got here? Shreveport has several colleges, including the Methodist-affiliated Centenary College. That's not going to be it. Louisiana State University in Shreveport. Let's click on that. I bet you that's not that big. Where are they based out of? Well, they're based out of Shreveport, so maybe, I don't know. LSU? Is that the LSU that played the Gators? I can't imagine that LSU would be a hotbed for liberalism, but again, they've also got Northwestern State University, College of Nursing. They all want to be rich, and there's no liberals there. What about Louisiana Tech University? Is that a big school? And you're not going to find liberals at a tech school because those people work for a living. Yeah, so I don't see Louisiana Baptist University. Not going to find, crazy Antichrist liberals in there either. So again, I don't see where the liberals are in the colleges. And their mayors are Republican. So again, if Kamala Harris somehow flips Shreveport, Louisiana, we've got a real problem. Now, let's go. Now let's look at because they always say two cities in Louisiana. If we've got anybody from Louisiana, please chime in because I don't buy this. I think this is very, very suspicious. So let's go now to Kenner, which I don't, Kenner, Louisiana. Now, what the hell's in Kenner? Because they're saying Shreveport and Kenner. And I don't mean to curse, but what the heck is up with Kenner? Okay. Kenner is this. I'm again reading Wikipedia. Kenner is a city in the U.S. state of Louisiana. It is the most Jefferson Parish. All right, who cares? And is the largest incorporated. Oh, here we go. Here we go. It is the largest incorporated suburban city of New Orleans. That's where it's at. That's where it's at. That's where that. Listen, let me tell you something. I was a history major. I went to law school. I love to research. We're unfortunately in that mixed liberal arts majors, but we actually know what we're talking about. I like to dig through information. The Shreveport, that's a misdirect. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. A bunch of business schools, a bunch of parochial schools, a lineage of Republican, conservative, good, God-fearing American mayors. Doesn't make sense. But Kenner makes sense. Kenner makes sense. So again, let's read some of these comments. I apologize. I'm literally, I have like tunnel vision right now because, look, it's one of those things. If I wake up tomorrow with a full head of hair, especially right here where the hair is gone, it would be a similar thing than if a state like Louisiana or Mississippi went blue. It would be just about as insane as that. Because, I mean, you could talk about maybe Florida, but not really. More likely Virginia, Pennsylvania. That's different. But Louisiana is as red as it gets. I mean, it would be like saying, what if Massachusetts went Republican? Absurd. So I see that, and I'm like going towards that. But New Orleans, that makes sense. It would have to be New Orleans. I just don't think she can do it. I don't think there's the votes. Like I said, we looked at Shreveport. Okay, now Shreveport had a bunch of liberal arts schools. Then I would say, well, maybe, possibly. But it doesn't. The majority of schools there, I mean, they have LSU, but LSU is no hotbed for liberalism. And in addition to LSU, they've got a bunch of parochial schools where you're not going to find that. Tech schools, nursing schools. For every 10,000 women and men that you have going to be nurses, maybe one wants to be Mother Teresa. They all want to drive in Beamers and have nice houses and stuff. I don't find anybody in there saying, yeah, I'm going to give Joe Blow over there for playing his guitar on the corner, sitting there barefoot. I'm going to give him half of my take-home salary. He didn't go to nursing school or undergrad, but I'm going to go ahead and give him half. You think anybody in nursing school wants to do that? You're not going to meet any Marxists in nursing school or med school. You might meet one, like a freak, go join the guerrillas somewhere and fight in the mountains, only to come back and become a Fortune 500 mogul. Point is, I don't see where she'd be able to push her agenda in Shreveport, much less flip the city. And she would have to flip Shreveport and Little Kenner there, because Kenner, I mean, if we're talking Nolans, that's different. But they said Kenner, so it makes me think that something is going to happen in Kenner. And they is not, any like person or persons. It's just it's the vibe on the message boards and the Facebook groups and all these various platforms where people can still speak freely. There's not a lot of them. Well, taking it for what it's worth, I'm actually looking at it here, and I'm looking at it over here on this phone. Different, subreddits that I get tagged in and whatnot. We're just looking at Kenner, which doesn't have numerically any numbers to do anything. Shreveport, which does, is the third largest city, third most populated city. So assuming that winning Shreveport and winning Kenner would flip Louisiana blue, Kamala Harris would have to win by such a large margin in Shreveport. There would have to be like 80% people that voted had to be Democrats. For, again, if we're going by what we're seeing of Shreveport and Kenner, Kenner doesn't matter. No offense, but I don't know how many. Okay, so let's just do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Biggest cities, LA. I hope that understands that to be Louisiana. And it says California. How? Oh, because it thought it said Los Angeles. God, you don't have to spell this out. Louisiana. Okay. So let's see where Kenner ranks. So we already know that Shreveport is third to Baton Rouge and New Orleans. Okay, so Kenner's not. Oh, okay. I was going to say they're not even in the top 10. They are in the top 10. They're in the top 10. Right there. 7. They're number 7. Their population is 63,000. I mean, again, no offense, but Shreveport is 3 times the population of Kenner. So they would have to basically have a landslide in Kenner, and they would have to win like something like 75, 80% of Shreveport to be able to create enough of an impact, in my opinion, on Baton Rouge, which is the king jewel, but also Baton Rouge, which is about 30% smaller, to be able to affect it to such a way as to where Louisiana would go into that blue column. I don't see it. You're talking about, when you say 80%, it's not even just to say 8 out of 10. It may even be more than that, because statistics are different than your 1 plus 1 is 2 math. But it's just not possible. It's just not the only time that such a thing would have been possible, we're just talking about a city here, but this happened across the United States, was the 1980 presidential election. That's not true. There was a 1984 presidential election where it was Reagan versus Mondale. The only thing that Mondale won, he won his home state of Minnesota and he won D.C. That's it. Reagan won everything else. Those hardcore blue states like in New England, New York, New Jersey, he won those. California with Berkeley and all the stuff, he won that. Washington State with Seattle, which has always been a hotbed of revolutionary activity. The same thing with Portland, Oregon. Reagan won those too. So it can be done. It can be done. Is Kamala Harris or Ronald Reagan? Give me a break. Is Donald Trump or Ronald Reagan? No. Nobody is a Ronald Reagan except for Ronald Reagan. He's the only person that's been able to do that. And it helped that he was up against Walter Mondale. But Walter Mondale was Jimmy Carter's VP. So it's not like he was just some unknown. So again, more so to the power of Reagan. You had Democrats and Republicans that loved Ronald Reagan. Why? Because America was never more successful than in the 1980s. You can only compare it to coming out of the Depression when we were really on our own. But I got to tell you, Reagan, the Gipper, he was almost like a messiah. I'm sorry, but he was, he was close to being a messiah. And only Reagan, God rest his soul, only Reagan could have won us the Cold War. Nobody else could win us the Cold War. They didn't know what they were doing. In Vietnam, every time the soldiers won, Johnson would pull them back. Every time they won, they'd pull them back. We could have won Vietnam, but the politicians didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know what they were doing. You know what I mean? Korea, another, what is that? Like, we're in the state of war forever? Desert Storm. We could have wrapped it up the first time. We didn't have to go in a second time, but it's because they just didn't know what they were doing. So it's not because, Republicans or Democrats. Ronald Reagan was the only person that had the vision, the political vision, to defeat communism. None of his predecessors could do it. Not Carter, not Reagan, not Ford, not Johnson. They couldn't do it. He could. That's the difference. But Kamala, to quote, who was it that said it? I think it was, who was it that said it? Who was, hold on a second. Who was Dukakis' running mate? Who was that? Who was Dukakis' running mate? Was it Mondale? It wasn't Mondale. Mondale ran in 84. That person said to Dan Quill, Jack Kennedy, I knew Jack Kennedy. You, sir, you're no Jack Kennedy. I mean, that was kind of funny. But the point is, I would use that in the context of Kamala Harris. You're no Jack Kennedy, because she's no Jack Kennedy, I'll tell you that. And Donald Trump, much respect to him, he's no Jack Kennedy either. And to me, Jack Kennedy's up there with a Ronald Reagan, but I still think Reagan was more popular. I still think Reagan was more popular. Reagan was something else. I can't tell you enough about Reagan. I know you guys are crazy about Trump, but Reagan, yeah, he was the best. But the point is, maybe it's generational. I don't know. I'm 45, so I can't think it's really all that generational. But I just think that, is it possible for a candidate to get 75%, 80%? Yes. But none of the ones that are running can pull it off. Kamala especially can. No offense. And again, because we're talking about Louisiana, maybe, on the left coast somewhere, or, in Delaware, she can pull 80%. But I don't even think she can win Louisiana. So again, don't just take my word for it. Go on the message boards. Type in Shreveport, Kamala, Kenner, Kamala, whatever. You'll see. Supposedly, she's the biggest thing since sliced bread in those two cities. Supposedly. I bet you I'll go over there. I couldn't find a fan of hers anywhere.